sets straight for this ball game this evening.
Well, first off, Coach Nate Oates, when I asked him about it, said he picked Kyra up off the floor and said, we didn't lose that game because you missed 2 free throws. He said Kyra's in a good spot. He did say after the game he jumped in the gym and wanted to make sure he could get a couple in. He said he'd really like to see him go out tonight, get fouled early, and then get a couple in to get his confidence up. But he said, you know what, that's what makes him so good mentally. He can get over it and move on to the next one. Eli, looks like time for tip-off.
It is time for tip-off. Doug Shows, the veteran.
Yeah, Eli, this situation stemmed from the FBI investigation into Arizona basketball. And Quinterly, although his name was cleared from that situation, the NCAA did not grant permission for him to play for Alabama this year. And, you know, his case, it was a first of its kind in NCAA history. And Alabama felt very strongly about the case they presented. They said they're shocked, saddened, and extremely disappointed. Bama officials told me that he's a model student athlete and he's done everything asked for him. So it's tough to see a talent of his caliber not out on the court this year.
It really is. Meggi Hetzel, that means John Petty's got to hit his threes tonight.
He does, and he's made a complete 360 since his trip in the Bahamas. Originally before the Bahamas, the first 3 games, he was only averaging 7 points and 7 rebounds. Then in the Bahamas, he was averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds. He notched a career game with 34 points and 12 rebounds, his first double-double. I asked Coach Oates what was different. Yeah, Eli, it's everywhere in the gym, and it's called their cultural playbook, even on their ball rack right here. First, max effort. They're going to give max effort in every practice and every game. Second, continuous growth. They're going to get better on and off the court and on their own in the gym. And third, selfless love. Teach these guys to love themselves and love the community around them. And like you said, we're done talking. It's time for tip-off.
That's Meggi Hetzel. It's getting to be a fairly big list like General Hospital.
Yeah, you saw JP go down. You don't want that for the Tide right now. Juwan Gary, a freshman, and James Rojas, a transfer, both torn ACLs. They're out for the season. Alex Reese, he's been nursing a hip injury. He's going to be limited minutes tonight. He said he showed the guys the example of the Klay Thompson 60-point game. Klay Thompson had the ball for 90 seconds total that game and dribbled 11 times. He said, that's a shooter. You got to let the guys around you create that for you. Coach, you said this was going to be a high possession game and a fast-paced game. What did you see from your team in the first half? 11 turnovers for you guys, 10 for Stephen F. Austin. How do you win the turnover battle in the second half?
I think Kyra got settled down.
Kentucky, though, they stretched their lead back out to 7, but a 3-pointer made by John Petty right there made it a 4-point game once again with 2:44 to go, down by 5. Petty made it a 1-possession game at 70-67 with the layup and the goaltend. With 2:14 remaining, however, Kentucky would score the final 6 points of the game. As we continue to honor V-Week, we talk about a resilient man on this court that's not a player. It's Stephen F. Austin assistant coach Wade Mason, who's been fighting liver cancer and actually received fantastic news. After 6 rounds of chemotherapy at MD Anderson, he just received news from a scan that said one of the tumors is completely gone and another one has shrunk. This started out as prostate cancer and then moved its way into the liver. You didn't get to practice almost all week with a foot injury. 15 points for you, 4 boards. What made the difference in your play tonight? And the social media is going to be prominent today, which we'll hit on a few times. But you guys didn't have the social media when you were signing. Facebook official?
Yeah, Facebook makes it official.
Okay, well, the Twitter, everything that we have today.
We were still sitting in faxes back when we were excited.
Okay, guys, so you can see we're going to have a packed morning. You want to make sure to stay right here with us, and we'll dive into those first names when we come back. And some of those guys do have athlete on their, bios as their position because you don't know where they're going to come in and transition into college. Now, one of the guys, you know his position because of his size, Seth McLaughlin, offensive lineman, 6'4", 278 pounds from Buford, Georgia, and Rashad Johnson. Meggi Hetzel here with you. Let's take a look at the big board. So far, what we've got this morning, a couple of great players so far and really beefing up the offense.
Yeah.
First SEC game of the season for the Tide, and in true Alabama fashion, they doubled up the Gamecocks, 47-23 behind 571 total offensive yards. With that win, you could say the Tide had an enjoyable flight back to T-Town, but only celebrated that win for 24 hours. Let's take an all-access look at Alabama's win over South Carolina. It's brought to you by ATI. Your redshirt freshman Javian Davis and then your freshman Jaden Shackelford, both in double digits. Talk to me about what you saw from both those underclassmen.
Yeah, I think they're